From Amanda Nunes announcing her departure after knocking out Irene Aldana, to Khabib dedicating his final victory to his late father, here are some of the most shocking UFC retirement announcements that no one saw coming. I gotta start with an announcement that rocked the UFC world to its core on June 10th, 2023. I'm of course referring to the unstoppable female bantamweight and featherweight champ, Amanda the Lioness Nunes, calling it quits in quite a spectacular fashion. I mean, who saw that coming? She's left her mark on the sport, breaking records left and right, including the record for the most wins in championship bouts on the entire female UFC roster. Talk about a true powerhouse. Nunes dropped the bombshell on everyone in the post-fight interview with Daniel Cormier, following her match with Irene Aldana, taking off her gloves, a metaphor for shedding her warrior identity, and revealing the news. The entire crowd was shocked. Hell, even I was. But there were no waterworks during her statement, as she celebrated the moment by grabbing a cold one and hitting the dance floor with her wife and daughter right there in the octagon. Talk about going out in style. I mean, I get it, you only retire once, right? So why not make the most out of it? Naturally, fans and fighters couldn't help but chime in on social media, breaking Twitter records with reactions and congratulations for the Lioness, which is fitting for an achievement hunter like her. Fighters such as Aljamain Sterling and Jamal Hill congratulated the Brazilian champ. And even Derek Brunson chimed in to crack a joke, tweeting that the fighters in the women's divisions must be popping bottles themselves, now that Nunes is out of the game. But hey, at least she won her last match before retiring, unlike Jorge Masvidal. The fighter dropped the bombshell announcement on the 8th of April 2023 at the Kaseya Center in Miami, following a unanimous decision loss to fellow welterweight contender Gilbert Burns at UFC 287. In his in-cage interview with Joe Rogan, Masvidal took a moment to address his home city fans, expressing his love and gratitude for everyone who supported him throughout his career, while also talking about his 20 years of history in the sport. Masvidal explained that after almost 50-something fights, he felt the toll that time had taken on his body, admitting that he didn't feel the same when stepping into the octagon anymore. I mean, getting punched in the face for 2 decades has that effect on people, but let's not forget the impact that Masvidal has had on the game either. Before entering the world of professional MMA, Masvidal made a name for himself as part of Kimbo Slice's legendary backyard street fights. Since his MMA debut back in May 2003, though, the guy's been on a roller coaster ride, competing in top promotions like UFC, Strikeforce, and Bellator. He's had his fair share of ups and downs, but one thing's for sure, he's left an indelible mark on the sport, which was unfortunate as Masvidal's career came to an end following a 4-loss streak. Still, you can't use a few hiccups as an excuse to mock over 2 decades worth of experience, and Jorge is anything but your average fighter. Speaking of decades worth of experience, how can I not mention Paul Daley? This man has competed in all the biggest promotions, such as the UFC, Strikeforce, Bellator, and more. The guy's known for his explosive knockouts and thrilling fights, and he delivered a classic performance at Bellator 281 on the 13th of May 2022 in London to wrap up his career. And let me tell you, it was a sight for sore eyes. In what he'd already declared to his final bout, Daley, with a record of 44-18-2, stepped into the cage against the gritty Brazilian newcomer, Wendell Giacomo. For most of the fight, Daley found himself grappling with Giacomo, who showed some serious strength and technique. But for our man Daley, it was just another Saturday, and he knew that he had to seize the moment and unleash his trademark explosiveness. And that's exactly what he did. In a moment of pure determination, Daley exploded upward and launched a series of classic haymakers at his overwhelmed opponent, hitting him with a left hook to the body, swiftly followed by a devastating overhand right. As you probably guessed it, Giacomo hit the floor like a sack of potatoes, face-planting to the canvas, while the O2 arena erupted in cheers, chanting, "Daley, Daley, Daley" at the top of their lungs. Daley, overwhelmed with emotion, collapsed in the center of the cage. But he wasn't alone, as he was soon joined by his mother and partner in the octagon, embracing the champ and lifting his hands over his head. But not everyone gets to leave on such a high horse though, as was the case with Donald Cerrone. The cowboy decided to hang up his gloves and ride off into the sunset, following his submission loss to Jim Miller at UFC 276 on the 3rd of July 2022. It might not have been the triumphant ending we all hoped for, but the fight slipped through his fingers, and he knew that it was time to bid farewell. In a touching display of respect, Cerrone placed his gloves and his iconic cowboy hat right in the center of the cage, and during his in-cage interview with Rogan, Cerrone expressed his gratitude to the city of Las Vegas for witnessing his countless battles. He thanked the crowd for their support, and also talked about how special it was to have his boys there by his side. But Don also admitted something that hit me right in the feels. He no longer loved the sport. The fire, the passion that once burned inside him, had dimmed. And well, when the love is gone, it's hard to keep going. But don't you worry, because the guy also announced that he had big plans for the future, declaring that he was going to be a movie star. That's right, he's trading in the cage for the silver screen, and I, for one, can't wait to see him kick ass in a whole new arena. Still, if you think this was the biggest blow to the UFC in 2022, then you probably haven't heard of Jose Aldo. The King of Rio officially called it quits from the wild world of MMA back on the 18th of September, 2022. The news came straight from the horse's, or should I say, the goat's mouth. Aldo personally informed the UFC about his plans to step away from fighting, which was confirmed by MMA Junkie by a source close to the situation. Leading up to his retirement, whispers had been already circulating in the MMA community, and Aldo was hoping to make a grand exit. Unfortunately, that fight ended in a unanimous decision loss for Aldo, putting an end to his 3-fight winning streak. But hey, even the greatest warriors have their ups and downs, and with his 13-7 UFC record, this man achieved some mind-blowing feats in the promotion's history. He wasn't just a former 2-time featherweight champion, he's also held the interim championship and was a WEC champion before transitioning to the UFC. I mean, the guy was practically jumping from promotion to promotion, grabbing every achievement he could get his hands on before moving on to the next. But wait, there's more. Aldo also holds the record for the most UFC featherweight title defenses of all time. Yep, that's right, he defended that belt 7 times. I don't know about you, but that's the stuff legends are made of, and Aldo left the sport as one of its finest. Of course, you can't say finest without mentioning one of the greatest to ever do it, Khabib Nurmagomedov. We witnessed something truly special on that fateful night of October 24th, 2020. Khabib, the undefeated phenomenon, did what he's always done inside that octagon. Dominated, getting a stunning victory over Justin Gaethje. And boy, did he do it well. This dude won his 29th fight in a row, remaining undefeated throughout his entire career. That's right, he's got a perfect record, and that's no easy feat in the wild world of MMA. The drama didn't end with his victory, though, as the UFC lightweight champ had also tragically lost his father to complications related to COVID-19 earlier that year. Tears streamed down his face as he grappled with a mix of joy and sorrow as he dedicated the win in his honor, unable to hold back his emotions. Like Nunes, Khabib also laid his gloves down in the center of the mat, signifying the end of an era. The Russian fighter left behind a legacy that'll forever be remembered in the halls of MMA history. Out of his 29 matches, all of them were victories, of which 11 were submission finishes, 8 knockouts, and 10 decisions. Yeah, whether it was punching or grappling, this guy was the full package. So, from Khabib dedicating his final victory to his late father, to Amanda Nunes announcing her departure after knocking out Irene Aldana, these were some of the most shocking UFC retirement announcements that no one saw coming.